The January 6th riot on the U.S. Capitol was both historic and something that at least momentarily united Congress. Democrats and Republicans alike decried the storming of the Capitol by supporters of President Trump in an effort to overturn the 2020 election results.
It was an attack on the Congress, an attack on the country, and an attack on the Constitution.
The signal around the world couldn't have been more helpful to our adversaries than it was. It was a sad and terrible day in the history of the country.
What we've seen since then is a gradual walking back of the denunciations of January 6th by Republicans in Congress.
The president bears responsibility for Wednesday's attack on Congress by mob rioters.
If you listen to what the president said at the rally, he said, demonstrate peacefully.
The president's language and rhetoric crossed a line, and it was reckless.
Let me tell you this right now, Donald J. Trump ain't going anywhere.
But early on, we saw certain elements of the conservative movement questioning the official narrative of the riot.
I knew those are people that love this country, that truly respect law enforcement, would never do anything to break a law, and so I wasn't concerned.
In fact, it was Trump supporters who lost their lives that day, not Trump supporters who were taking the lives of others.
There was no insurrection, and to call it an insurrection, in my opinion, is a bold-faced lie. If you didn't know the TV footage was a video from January the 6th, you would actually think it was a normal tourist visit.
What we also saw quickly rise and increasingly catch on was whataboutism. The idea that while maybe the January 6th Capitol riot was bad, what about what happened last summer during racial justice protests?
What they now are calling insurrection, they were justifying just this summer. They called it the language of the unheard when rioters were burning cities.
If you look back at the 4 years of the Trump presidency, what you will see occasionally were Republicans who decided at that moment the president had gone too far. The Republican Party base rather quickly signaled that they stood by the president. This case might be the biggest example of this dynamic in the Republican Party, of Republicans deciding that things have finally gone too far, the base deciding that no, they didn't, and then having Republicans try to pick up the pieces and put the party back together.
President Trump is practically and morally responsible for provoking the events of the day.
If the president was the party's nominee, would you support him?
The nominee of the party? Absolutely.
Driving home the Republicans' political calculation in all of this has been their easing away from the idea of an independent January 6th commission.
So will you want to agree to a commission unless it has that broader scope?
I'm the one who asked for a commission. You already have 4 investigations. I think that's enough.
I'm not opposed to a commission. I think it's too early to create a commission.
We think the American people going forward and in the fall of 22 ought to focus on what this administration is doing to the country.
The trajectory of the Republicans' response to January 6th over time has painted an almost unmistakable picture of a party that knows running afoul of Trump carries very significant consequences, and that moving forward, their efforts to win back Congress and then the presidency very much revolve around the former president.